Hello, people. I'm back with a recording today. I decided to write this up as a bit of a guideline in terms of some of the things that you will come up against going through the awakening process. This is based on my experience, as I've already said in various recordings that I've made. Is that depending on your own life experience will depend on your transition through the awakening process. The awakening process is individualized to the individual's understanding and purpose in life, to be fair, really, because this is what the awakening process is. It wakes you up to your mission, your purpose, your direction. So I hope that you understand this. I wrote this a couple of days ago, and as you are probably aware, the awakening process isn't easy. One day you're up, next day you're down, or the next 2 days you're up, but there's always it's like a bit of a roller coaster, the awakening process itself. I can't describe that any differently, really, because it is. It's, you're up and you're down, you're up and you're down, and there's always something to do. There's always something that you have to do. But before I go on to read my script, I'm just going to read my statement in terms of my statement of purpose, what this channel is about. This channel is supported by God based on my experience of witchcraft and the awakening process over time, past and present. The practice of witchcraft is real and affects many people's lives negatively within this timescale. I am calling these entities out into the open to express their actions towards the vulnerable, the innocent, and those unaware of their actions. These people, spirits of deception and envy, behaviours are of old. Support is offered to entities who rebuke the dark, wanting to return to the light. God continues his protection of the chosen ones and individuals of the light who visit this channel to express themselves and to receive support. This next short statement is about my integrity. I declare what I am about to talk about is the truth, the whole truth, in terms of my experience, so help me God. As I said, I wrote this a few days ago, really, and a lot has happened since then. But at the time when I wrote this, I entitled it, "This is what it is right now." No pressure, I'm free, the universe is guiding me. Right. Chosen ones, individuals of the light. You have heard me say on numerous occasions that the awakening process is a difficult process to navigate. Although you, have God and your spiritual team to guide you. Despite this, it is my decision, your decision, whether you follow the guidance given. It's about using your discernment and also following instructions given to you by your intuition. Other issues that make the awakening process difficult: assessing the correct information, avoid bogus information, navigating navigating information gathered, i.e., was what I actually listened to meant for me. Most people retrieve information regarding the awakening process from social media. And depending on what sites you use, the information can be difficult. As much as the information on social media can be input from above, as in God, heaven, it can also be input from demonic sources to make life more difficult for you. Overload of information on social media sites used, which on the whole leads to confusion and upset for the chosen and individuals of the light. Support networks eroding, and that is family members, friends, partners, conflict within social groups, toxic relationships. Spiritual warfare is also a major concern. There are stages throughout the awakening experience. Chosen ones are left on their own. This is so God is able to measure commitment. This is my understanding. Personally, going through the awakening process, it is my opinion of self that I made a lot of mistakes. As a consequence, God had to redirect me on numerous occasions. You've heard me say quite a few times that if it wasn't for God, I probably would not have made it to where I am now. And you might find this really quite upsetting. You might find what I'm going to say really quite ridiculous, or, but I'm only trying to be real in terms of my knowledge so far going through the awakening process, and for the ones that are trying to hold you back. My experience going through the awakening process, I have been betrayed, absolutely betrayed, numerous times. And there has also been times where people have tried to unalive me energetically, which is really possible, people. So don't kid yourself that I am having a laugh here or trying to steer you up the wrong path. People, depending on what the circumstances are, will try to unalive you. And this is where it comes to witchcraft. The awakening process is difficult. It's difficult to get your head around. And it is stressful, very stressful. As I said, one minute you're up, next minute you're down. You're up for 2 days, and the next day you're down. I can't say it any different than that. Okay. Despite these difficulties, chosen ones, individuals of the light, must find the time to complete work given by the process, as well as find ways to proceed through the awakening journey. Work given, inner self work, I'll explain that in a second, inner child work, confidence, and this is the explanation, confidence, self-esteem, looking at your ego, depending where you are in terms of your ego, actually can hold you back. Demonic and toxic relationships are these relationships harming you, and how are you managing the process itself? God, the universe, source, may require you to end such relationships. Failure to do so may prevent any forward or further forward movement within the awakening process. So what I'm saying here, the universe, God, Father, source, whatever you want to call God, determines some of the actions that we involve ourselves with or in terms of relationships, jobs, as holding you back or being quite toxic, and depending on the severity of your issue, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, or whether it's a finance, or whether it's friendship, or whatever, a determination will be made as to whether you should give up that relationship. If you don't give up that relationship, then your forward movement in terms of the awakening process will be halted, because a distinction is made as to whether whatever your concern is whether it is impeding you from any further movement or progression within the awakening process. So that's that. Employment situations is another one, really, which I've also said. Finance, are you exceeding your income, which is another concern. Family dynamics, black sheep of the family. How are you performing within that structure? Again, a distinction will be made as to whether you should move away, or what you should do. And I know it sounds really quite descriptive, and it probably is. It is. The factors that can hold you back are widespread. The above, which I've just talked about, is a snapshot of the issues. This is what it is now for me. As previously stated, I made a lot of mistakes progressing through the awakening process. Perhaps one could say mistakes or bad decisions. Now, the awakening process is created for you to look at your life in its entirety. It's also an escape from the matrix, and this is what it is about, because to access the awakening process is the process to for you to come out of the matrix. End of, really. And it's then for you then to start to create a different life for yourself outside the matrix. Now, being inside the matrix, I'm channeling now, it's about you being looked after to a certain extent. Coming out of the matrix, or coming out of the matrix, is about you actually looking after yourself, and not being handed to by by God, basically, and the angels that surround you, because everybody has an angel that surrounds them. So it's about coming out of the matrix, and it's about you looking after yourself. I haven't at this point spoken to any person about their experience or transition to be able to analyse my performance. This is just how I feel. Now, as I said, I have been guided through the awakening process by God. There are a lot of things within the process that will trap you. Entities also are in the process of the awakening, who try to trap you, prevent you from meeting your goal, getting to your destination. And it's God who has helped me to get to where I am now, and he is still helping me now. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know, well, I do know, I would not have made it this far within the awakening process if it wasn't for him. I have found the whole process itself really quite difficult to manage, And I think if it wasn't for me being as strong as I am and having the assistance from God and my spiritual team and the archangels, I would not have got through to this point. And that is end of. That is it. That's my view. That is my view. For anybody that has, and I don't know of, anybody that has made it through the awakening process without the assistance of God and their spiritual team, if there is, you have done exceptionally well. But for me, no, I would not have made it. And that's my honest truth. God and my spiritual team, my archangels, have been my saviour. Absolutely my saviour. Okay, so I'm saying this is just how I feel within the process. Time will tell when people, chosen ones, start to talk about their own experiences. Either way, it is my view, the awakening experience over time will become more known and talked about openly. And that's the only way forward, really. That's the only way forward. And I think at that time, as I've said, more of what people have experienced will actually come out. As I've said in previous recordings, that there are famous people that have actually experienced the awakening process and openly talked about their experiences. But it's just like anything that we humans do, is that it hits the headlines and it's in favour, and within a couple of weeks it's out, and people have turned their backs on things that they really should have paid attention to, and I'm guilty of that until I have gone through this, or going through the awakening process. A lot of my experience has been lost due to initially my lack of understanding energetically. I'll read that again. A lot of my experience has been lost due to initially my lack of understanding energetically. By the time I started to become aware of this, several months had gone by. So I knew that there was something happening to me, but I didn't understand what it was. And I lost a lot of time because I turned my back on the process itself, because I didn't understand what was actually happening to me. That was made doubly worse at the time, because I was trying to express to my wife what was actually going on with me, and unfortunately, all she was saying to me is that I was having a nervous breakdown when I knew I wasn't. Although I didn't understand what was actually going on with me at the time, her comments was not what I wanted to hear. So I persevered on my own, to be quite honest with you. And then I'll just read what I'm going to put here. So I persevered on my own. So I'm going to read that again, actually. A lot of my experience has been lost due to initially my lack of understanding energetically. By the time I started to become aware of this, several months had gone by. What I lost in the initial stages was the basics in terms of the knowledge. I soon caught up, but I was still on my back feet. What I was feeling at the time was fear, confusion, and doubt. Most individuals who experience this end up on being medicated, because to be in fear, to be confused and in doubt is a major issue in terms of the awakening process. To feel fear, confusion and doubt over a long period is really quite dangerous, where entities take advantage of that, and which is why people end up in mental health institutions and being on medication. People, I kid you not. Shifts and timelines. I have experienced numerous shifts during my awakening journey, experiencing again numerous timelines. What was expected of me was to rely on God, who would protect and guide me. I need to explain that, really. God is my saviour, and I actually mean that. God is my saviour going through the awakening process, but my life in general has been full of deceit and betrayal, and me being led in the wrong direction. As I become mature, older, I made a vow to myself in terms of the way I was feeling and the many letdowns I had in my life, that I would actually stand on my own 2 feet and I would not rely on anybody, because I just don't trust people, which is a difficulty in terms of going through the awakening process. God would like people to surrender their being, their all to him, so he can then he can then guide people safely through the awakening process. I refused. I absolutely refused. I don't trust anybody, and I didn't trust God either, due to my own letdowns going through life. As I know now, I should have surrendered to God, because I know now that his word is his word, and he would not lead somebody up the garden path. And certainly, as I've said, if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. So I surrendered. But I surrendered. I surrendered because I was stubborn, absolutely stubborn. It was a while before I surrendered. I just couldn't. I got to a point where I just couldn't do this on my own anymore. And and I suppose, if I'm being honest, I broke down. I actually broke down, and it was God who lifted me up. Which was what I mean, is God is my saviour going through this process. I did not. I'm sorry. I surrendered. So God helped me, and still is helping me. This has been my stance, or our stance, throughout the journey. This is how I survived. My trust and faith in God. Currently, I am in a peaceful, calm headspace where I am able to focus on my next steps in terms of my purpose and my mission. God continues to protect as I move forward. Of these individuals who were intent on harming or holding me back. So I have got to a certain stage within the awakening process. God continues to protect me in terms of the people that are trying to hold me back. Spiritual warfare is still very much relevant in terms of me proceeding through the process. Spiritual warfare, well, the people that have tried to hold me back are really quite relentless, which is really quite upsetting, really, when you think about what I have actually, when I think about what I've done to help people, particularly these people that are trying to hold me back. It's really quite upsetting to find that they would unalive me. They are trying to hold me back. They are just relentless. I'm not trying to put people off. And if people who have access to this recording think that I'm crazy, then that's basically down to you, really. I'm not really fussed. I don't really care anymore, to be quite honest with you, what people think. What's really quite important to me is that I'm going through an experience just like thousands of other people. And I'm really quite fortunate because I've met three other people actually who are categorized as being chosen, but I've also met deceptive people also. But and the three chosen ones that I met were really quite different characters to me, to be quite honest with you. But it was good to know, really, that what I'm actually going through, other people are going through, and I'm not in isolation on my own going through this, or thinking that I'm losing the plot and stuff like that. But it is difficult, people. It is difficult, and I don't really want to cause alarm, and I'm sure I am in certain extents, but for me, this is how I feel. This has been my experience over the past maybe 3.5 years of experiencing the awakening process. Yeah, and I'm sure that there's people that have just flown through the process, and and probably looking at me and going, I never experienced that. That wasn't me. No, that's not true. But I can only express what is going on for me. And you might go through the awakening process and have completely a different experience. You might fly through it and breeze, and come out of the other end thinking, God, that was amazing. But I'm not sure how many of you who see the awakening process or processing it really quite easy. I can't see it. based on my own experience, I can't really see it because, there are demonic entities within the process that are trying to put traps in your way. But anyway, as I said, I missed out quite a lot of the basics really for maybe 2 months, as I knew something was going on with me, but I couldn't actually tell what it was really, and within that 2 months, I lost quite a lot. So if you can imagine being on a 2-year course, and for 2 months of that 2 years, the first part of the 2-year course, you missed out a lot of information. Then that means, for the rest of the course, until you actually caught up, would be really quite confusing. And that's where I was confused. And this is where I talked about fear, confusion, and doubt. Really, so. Okay. Right, so God continues his protection as I move forward of the individuals who are intent on holding me back. What is required of me is to listen to direction in order to keep myself safe from entities who are intent on causing me harm. The threats towards me is very much real in the form of spiritual warfare and setting traps, trying to lead me away from my purpose. Chosen ones, I must tell you that chosen ones, I must tell you that you are your experience and you need to stand fast in this. No one can tell you what to do. God, the universe, source, has chosen you as he thinks you are the one who can complete your intended purpose. Should you choose not to take up the task given, that's what will happen. You will return to where you are coming from. I'm not going to record this again, actually, people. I'm tired today. What I'm talking about, God has chosen you. For whatever reason, He's chosen you to undertake a purpose, a mission in terms of the awakening, in terms of you coming out of the matrix. So it's up to you then, really, whether you take on board and go forward in terms of God's suggestion, in terms of your purpose, or whether you refuse and stay where you are. But if I'm being honest with you, my first 2 months of the awakening process wasn't good. It wasn't good. I was confused. I was in fear and I was in doubt. Is this actually happening to me? And within that process, that time scale, I was. I knew something. As I said, I knew something was going on with me, and I didn't know what. But knowing that I was having an experience like that, there's no going back, because I knew that I was, although confused, I was mentally sound. I just didn't understand what was going on with me. So there was no going back. Having gone through this experience and knowing that there was more to come, and there is more to come, and I'm still going through it now. Knowing what I know now, I would not have gone back. Even if I had a choice, I wouldn't have gone back, because I'm the sort of person that once I start something, I have to finish it. And this is no different, really. I have to finish it. And knowing what I know now, I would not go back and try to pretend that I haven't had this experience, because I know that is not true. So that is that, really. So for those people who are in denial of their experience, wake up and start to take on board the information that you need to take on, really, because to continue in a state of denial is only going to cause you fear and confusion and doubt, and you can do without that, to be honest with you. And also, you have free will. You either continue with the process or not, really, and that's clearly up to you. I have two more things to say here. Right, do not underestimate the effects of energetic energy in terms of communication now and into the future. Now, one of the mistakes I made is that I was in denial that I was actually going through a process because I didn't understand. And what made me actually stop and think I've got to address this is that energetically, my body started to really take on the fear that I was experiencing. And if I continued in that state, I dread to think. So I had to wake up quickly. Number two, and also energetically, it is my opinion, and only my opinion, that energy in terms of communication is going to be a thing of the future. Definitely a thing of the future. Energetic communication. And also, the power of prayer is and will be coming back into favour in the near future once people begin to believe that God is in fact present in people's lives today. And to be quite honest with you, prayer for me, and I'm not religious, and I'll maintain that until my last breath, I am not religious, but prayer is an important part of the awakening process. Absolutely is. So, people, I hope I haven't confused you too much today. I am going to be around for a while, because I just need to for me, I just need to be of service to people. And the awakening process, as I've said, is not an easy process. And I see it a duty for me to actually express my own experience throughout the awakening process. And hopefully, in me expressing myself in terms of my experience, will help other people progress through the awakening process at whatever time in the future. That be present and future, really. So that is me today. Please subscribe, as I need to take this channel forward in ways that will benefit people who have access to my recordings. Thanks a lot. Take care. Have a good day.